Welcome back to the city of Pretoria and an exciting period now for the Sasol GTC Championship as we start the run home to our finale in just a few months' time. We're here again at Zwartkops Raceway, the official testing circuit for the majority of our Sasol GTC teams. So everyone will be pushing harder than ever to find those extra few tenths on the track. Hi, I'm Sasha Martinengo, and all the talk about the last round in Port Elizabeth was the huge clash between championship leader Gennaro Bonafide and our reigning champion Michael Stephen. There is a championship on the line. The pressure is building. The points gap is getting narrower. And we need to set the record straight as to exactly what happened. Here's Richard Crail.
Down the inside goes Michael Stephen.
Michael's a wily old fox, and we know that he will do anything to win.
Could be a key moment for the championship. Oh, more so than we think because they're off.
I don't think I'm a dirty driver, but every now and again accidents happen.
The championship rivals come together. How do you judge that? It's the question everyone's been asking. How our main title contenders clashed head-on with so much at stake. Well, now it's their turn to tell the story.
I was on the outside into turn 1 and 2, and then Simon managed to get past through the complex, and then obviously Michael Stephen was right behind me going through Hanger and into the hairpin. He made a move up the inside. I gave him enough room, and then then things changed.
I got a run on him at the S's, did the switchback into hairpin, and had a run. So dived up the inside of hairpin, got past him, and then on the way out, I got on the power, the back stepped out a little bit. Obviously his right front tapped my left rear, sending me off into the bush, almost hitting the tyres, and taking him off as well. So the way I saw it, it's a reverse grid. We're racing hard. We're trying to get through the field. I mean, we've done laps around Kalami, Cape Town, side by side. Never had an issue. So, once every 3 years to have a little on-track rubbing is racing. For me, is not an issue.
I'm really disappointed. I think that we could have had a good race, and it ruined the race for me and him.
However, the long-time rivals are now putting it behind them as they firmly focus on the remaining 8 races left in 2017 and the chase for that coveted #1 plate.
The fact that we're both fighting for the championship is between him and I. We've got to take it on the chin and move forward. We've got Sasol Race Day here this weekend, so really, really looking forward to it. Our pace has always been really, really good here at Zwartkops.
We've come back from 149 points behind in the championship to within 29 points, pretty much at the halfway point. So maybe he's feeling the pressure. We're challenging, and I think it's just going to make for an exciting end to the year.
Before we look at the championship standings, a quick recap of qualifying. Less than a second covers the entire Sasol GTC field, but for someone like Gennaro, being just 0.2 of a second off the pace has put him back in 5th. And that's not good news when you compare it to Michael Stephen, who qualified up in 2nd. But Robbie Walk was the star of the session, claiming his first pole position in GTC. In GTC 2, Keegan Masters scored another pole position for Volkswagen Motorsport, while privateer Ian Stevenson outshone the more experienced and younger field and will start alongside Keegan on the front row of GTC 2 in race 1.
Yeah, it's a bit of a surprise, I think, after our practice today. We struggled in the first 2 sessions, made a bit of progress in the 3rd one. But we knew from some of the testing we've done, we can hook it up with the new tyres. So, it's a bit tough out there. A couple of cars going wide, but after the first lap, managed to definitely hook up a solid lap. Thought there's a little bit more in the car, but didn't really extract it in my second flyer. But thankfully enough for the day.
Now look, we're working very hard to get a 1-2 in front of the minis, because the minis are very, very quick. The team has worked very hard on this car, especially at this track. It is our home track. And the performance of this car is brilliant this weekend.
So you're fighting the youngsters all weekend. So it's kind of, I think, we haven't had a major issue this weekend. So normally we've had gearbox issues, engine issues, problems with the car, so things failing or incidents on the track. So it's kind of touch wood, everything's going okay.
So with 8 races left in 2017 and 50 points on offer for a race win, points are everything for the last few rounds. With just 29 points separates Gennaro and Michael. In GTC 2, Keegan Masters sits out front, but then there's a 4-way battle between Trevor Bland, Brand Liebenberg, Chris Shorter and Charl Smalberger, who all are applying the pressure. I cannot wait to see how today unfolds. Let's go racing. Here's Richard.
Thanks, Sasha. So we're back at Zwartkops. It's an important venue in the championship this year. This is our 2nd visit but the title will be decided here later on in the year. So form at this venue, very important. And Robbie Walk's got it because he starts from pole. Here's the circuit. It's 2.4 Ks, 8 turns, and an average speed of just over 130 kilometres an hour. It's a tricky little racetrack though, but it does provide with plenty of overtaking opportunities. The tightest grid on record in Sasol GTC, the top 5 cars covered by 0.18 of a second in a very, very intense qualifying session earlier in the weekend. Robert Walk on pole from Michael Stephen by 2/100ths of a second. And similarly tight margins in GTC 2, with pole position going the way of Keegan Masters in front of Ian Stevenson. It's a PB for Stevenson, and Masters' first pole in the class since round 2 at Kyalami. So we're ready for the rolling start. A second play at Zwartkops Raceway, and car number 1 continues to be on the charge in Sasol GTC. Michael Stephen charging up the championship order, and all the pressure now on Gennaro Bonafide in car number 32, who starts this one from 5th place. We're away in racing, the field through turn 1. And then up a little bit of elevation into turn 2. It's a tight right-hander and a key overtaking opportunity. And Robert Walk leads the field through. The GTC 2 pack still getting themselves sorted out. Now through the sweeper, the fastest points of Zwartkops Raceway. And then another big braking zone. They're jostling for position behind the leading group. Johan Farigo's defensive. Hodges in there as well. Bonafide still trying to work his way through. We're on board with the 57 Volkswagen. Johan Farigo defending early on cold Dunlop tyres, covering his racing line on the inside into that right-hander. And now Daniel Rowe was looking up the inside there. So Bonafide's under enormous pressure early in this race. He must work his way through this field. He's got to chase car number 1. It's not going to work though, because he spun, turned around, coming into the final corner. Gennaro Bonafide copped a hit, was spun around. Michael Van Rooyen caught in that as well. Let's have a look. We're on board with Daniel Rowe. Through the right, then the left. There's contact. The BMW spins. The Volkswagen continues on. And the Rustenburg Rocket was caught up in that as well. So massive dramas for Gennaro Bonafide. Potential damage to his car. He's at the back of the field. His teammate continues to lead. And there's Van Rooyen, who recovers right at the back of the pack. So he's now got to work his way through this war that's going on for GTC 2. It's being headed up by a Mini. A couple of Volkswagens just in behind them. So this ebbing and flowing battle between the Signature Motorsport duo of Brad Liebenberg and Chris Shorter and the 2 factory Volkswagen Golfs of championship leader Keegan Masters and Mandla Madikani has been raging for a couple of rounds now. There's Trevor Bland getting up the inside of Charl Smalberger. Here's Charl looking back to Ian Stevenson in the Comsol car, who's under pressure, and now a change of the lead here with Keegan Masters looking around the outside of Liebenberg, but he's got the racing line through the first of those 2 left-handers that bring them back around to the start-finish straight. So what a great fight this is. It's been a level playing field for a couple of rounds now since Signature Motorsport got those Minis developed and up to speed. Keegan Masters has been super consistent. He rocketed to an early championship lead in Sasol GTC 2. Now he rockets to the race lead in this one, down the inside, but Liebenberg will fight back in car 12. The old over-under trick worked a treat for him there. Now they'll go side by side into the sweeper. But the Volkswagen pulls in front again. Mandla Madikani just watching on. Hasn't won since round 2 at Kyalami, where he grabbed that famous victory. He'll be looking to return himself to victory lane as soon as he can, but it's his teammate doing all the winning in this championship with a big margin. 120 points he's got over the chasing pack in GTC 2. The next 4 drivers, Bland, Liebenberg, Shorter and Smalberger, covered by just 48 points. But the problem is they're taking points off each other and not trying to take points off the championship leader, Keegan Masters, who's been so very impressive this year and building a championship. When he's not winning, he's just accumulating points and podium finishes. So back to the front, Robert Walk, who won for the first time last time out in Port Elizabeth, a brilliant victory. First driver in Sasol GTC to convert pole to a win in the reverse grid race. So that's a bit of a milestone this year. Those races have been so hardly fought that he was able to hold on from a pole and convert it to his first victory in GTC, and that was an enormous accomplishment. The Sasol GTC driver who's worked his way up through the ranks of open wheel racing in South Africa. But Michael Stevens chasing him. His teammate Simon Moss is in behind. The leaders bunched together. The big story is Gennaro Bonafide towards the back of that pack, and Michael Van Rooyen unfortunately caught up in all of that drama as well. An innocent victim in that crash on the opening lap. He's now working his way through. The GTC 2 cars collect Stevenson as they go through. Bit of throttle gets Stevenson out of drama and pointing in the right direction. But Van Rooyen's got to cut his way through those cars and hope that he can then catch the back of the Sasol GTC pack. Here's the fight in GTC 2. This is third place. Adler Matakani under pressure from Chris Shorter. So Shorter a winner last time out at Aldo Scribanti in Port Elizabeth for the first time. He also converted pole in the reverse grid race into a victory. So he and Robert Walt did the same thing in race 2 down there in PE. And now they run side by side through the sweeper. Something about this class that just makes for great racing. They don't have the aero grip that the Sasol GTC cars have got, so they move around a little bit more. They don't have the same lap speed, but gee, they produce good racing. Now Van Rooyen's problem is he's coming up to this private little battle for third in GTC 2. He wants to get the both of them. Mandler's gone a little bit deep though. He's going to find the fence, and he does. Cushioned nicely by the air fence there that's been put in place for the two-wheeled action that's part of this program that Sasol GTC is part of. He's able to drive on. He'll have to drive gingerly for a couple of corners to make sure that there's no damage to his Volkswagen. The leader's wide. Robbie Walt just runs a little bit wide on the exit of the right-hander, and that's all the invitation that Michael Stevens needs. He goes down the inside. You don't need to ask him twice. Capitalises immediately, and the Engine Extreme Audi goes to the front. Just dropped two wheels off, and it dragged the BMW a little bit more wide on the exit of the corner, and Walt surrendered the lead. And Michael Stevens jumps to the point. And jumping off the road a little bit further back, looked like Johan Ferree there, just dropping two wheels off. So Smalberger passing some cars there, making up some time. He goes past Paul Hill, who's got dramas, and pulls his car to the side of the road. Smoke pouring from the bonnet of his Volkswagen. So a change at the top. It's Audi, BMW, Audi, then Volkswagen Jetta next. This is Bonafide making up time. Wonder if there's been any residual damage to the Sasol BMW after that contact on the opening lap. His teammate doing the best job he can to hold out Simon Moss. Been remarkable, Simon Moss, this year. He's been incredibly consistent, and of the 5 rounds to date, it was only the first visit to Zwartkops back at round 4 that he didn't score a podium finish. He's been brilliantly consistent everywhere else, and now Daniel Rowe is going to pit lane in the number 11 Volkswagen Jetta. So that's a shame. He was going slow. You could see from Bonafide's on board before. Here's Moss. Just squeezes down the inside of Walt. Nicely judged move into turn 2 and gets P2 away from the BMW driver. The view from car 41. Now in third place. Just doesn't seem to have the ultimate race pace of those two Audis. Their long-run performance this year has been very impressive. They look after their tyres well. Their drivers do a very nice job of managing the traffic as well as they work their way through the GTC 2 pack. There's the Volkswagen Motorsport team going to work on Daniel Rowe's car. So I'd suggest a bit of secondary damage from that contact earlier in the race that has just punched that rear guard in onto the wheel. So it looked like it was tyre smoke that we saw from car 11. Just using the old sledgehammer to move those panels out of the way. It's not the way you should treat a Sasol GTC car, but unfortunately, sometimes it's the way it goes. And now down the inside, that was Hodges looking up the inside of Walt. So the factory BMW passed by the factory Volkswagen by the looks of it. So Hodges working his way through. They're still side by side. So Walt's holding on. This is a good battle. And now they've got some lap traffic to work past as well. That's Dane Angel in the Honda. Hodges squeezes through. 3 wide for a moment. He took the opportunity to dive up the inside. I wonder if there was a slight hesitation from the BMW as he came up to the GTC 2 car, just dived up the inside. And it's taken Hodges half a lap, but he finally now clears car number 41. So Hodges 5th in the championship coming into this weekend. 3 podium finishes to his credit, yet to record a victory in GTC this year. But the one thing that the Volkswagens have had is good race pace. Their qualifying performance has been where they've been struggling. So getting to the front of the field in qualifying is all important. They just haven't been able to execute that so far. But their race pace has been good. And Hodges working his way to the front in this, coming off 3rd place in race 2 at Aldo Scribanti last time out. It's remarkable how the pace has improved in GTC competition, even in just 2 rounds. So the pole time this weekend was 0.4 of a second quicker than when we visited last time out. The Volkswagens went 1.2 seconds faster than where they qualified in round 4 at this venue. And Hodges just goes down the inside of the Comsol entry of Stevenson. Aggressive move to get past the GTC 2 car, but it was effective nonetheless. But to show you how the pace has moved on and how quickly these cars are being developed, Michael Van Rooyen qualified 0.4 of a second faster this weekend than he did at round 4. He qualified 4 spots further back though. He was 4th last time we visited, 8th this time. So it shows how fast the pace of development is at the pointy end of the GTC field. Led, it must be said, by these 2 Audis who continue to march away out in front. There's 3rd place Matt Hodges. Robert Walk next, and then the similar BMW of Johan Ferrari. Here's Bonafide. Great lock up in front of him as he works his way past Stevenson, who hasn't had a good run of luck at this corner of late. A little bit wide out into the gravel. That's where Mandela Manikani came off the road earlier on in the race. But the green flags are flying as the 2 Audis work their way forward. So a 1 and 2 result for these 2 so far. It's lap 12 of 17. The Terry Moss Racing Engine Extreme cars are 1 and 2. Robert Walk holds down 3rd place. 4th place, I should say, behind Matt Hodges, who's worked his way up into 3rd in the Volkswagen. Johan Ferrari is 5th. The battle in GTC 2 continues. They're working their way past the Ferrodo Mini. Walk does the same. So it's been a remarkable run for Michael Stephen in the last couple of rounds in this championship as Ferrari clears the Mini as well. Robert Walk just a little bit wide there, grabbed a brake mid-corner. The unloaded side of the car as he turned it in. Now they're going past the leader in GTC 2, that's Keegan Masters. Factory Volkswagen clears the other factory Volkswagen nicely, and now the BMWs do the same. So since race 2 at Kyalami at round 2, Michael Stephen, who won that race, has won 5 of the last 7 races in this championship. It's been imperious form from him. Gennaro Bonafide's won just once after winning the first 3 in the championship. More on that later because Robert Walk gets turned around. Contact with Johan Ferrari. It was a little bit wide on the entry to the corner and maybe a little bit slower than Ferrari expected. The Cape Town driver just nudged him into a spin and then he was collected. I think that was Keegan Masters, the leader in GTC 2. So here's the onboard from the GTC 2 driver. A whack. Big hit. Big damage to Robert Walk's car. Well, it started on pole position. It was the first of his career riding a bit of a crest of form in Sasol GTC. And this race that started on pole ends parked on the side of the road. So here's Brad Liebenberg. So he's got Keegan Masters in front and look down the inside. So that's a change of position there for the lead in GTC 2. And here is that battle. And look, you can see the damage on Masters' car. A big telltale battle scar on the side of the road, and there's smoke coming out the front of Robbie Walk's car as well. Vic Maharaj, the boss of the VM Innovations team who runs the 2 Sasol BMWs, will not be looking fondly at that, wondering what sort of a job they're going to have between races to get that car turned around. The upside is for the second time in 2 rounds, there's a very good chance it will elevate car 41 to the front spot for the reverse grid race. So in every cloud there is a silver lining, and I think Robbie's just going to have to remember that. What's been a pretty tough race so far. Here's Masters, the Mini in front. What a battle it's been between these two, and GTC2 has been so competitive this season. 5 different race winners from the 10 races so far, and 4 from the last 4 races. Just throw all the balls in the air and see where they land in this category at the moment. That's how open it is. Bradley Liebenberg is doing a very nice job. So that contact denied Masters the handy lead that he had, but now he's fighting back. He goes down the inside at turn 2, and that will be a change of position once again. Must be the 3rd or 4th lead change, if not more. So there's yellow flags there. So he was clear in the lead before he could get through. Liebenberg may be a little bit cheeky still racing him there. Generally you need to show some caution in the yellow flag segment, but he didn't overtake, so that's okay. But now he gets a good run out of that long right-hander. They go up the hill now into a braking zone, into a pretty tight corner, which is a good overtaking opportunity, but he's not able to attack the race leader and the championship leader. Or is he? He runs a little bit wide. Masters is wide. He got it wrong there, and Liebenberg will continue to attack. So they're still side by side, much to the delight of the big crowd on here this weekend. They're loving this racing, and it's bringing Chris Shorter into the fight as well. So the 2 minis ganging up on the Volkswagen. Just a couple of laps to go. The 2 Audis still out in front. Terry Moss Racing, Engine Extreme 1 and 2. And there is a man who's won 12 championships with Bonafide down the field. It's going to look unbelievably good for him already, because this should put him at the top of the standings in Sasol GTC for the first time this year. There'll be 1 lap to go this time by the 2.4 kilometres Zwartkops circuit. There's the 1 lap to go board. A very brave man watching these cars go past at high speed. There's Hodges in 3rd place. Promising performance by the V-Dubs. Great race pace for them. They'll look forward to utilise that in race 2 in the reverse grid affair. Daniel Rowe should be towards the front of that grid, having suffered some dramas in this. Here's Liebenberg. Just caressing that car down into turn 1 in that fight for GTC2. But it's the final lap for Michael Stephen. He's won 5 of the last 7 races, looking to make it 6 out of 8. And looking for a championship lead as well. Not only that, but a 1-2 result for the Audis. They've come back to Zwartkops, and it will be a 1-2 for Engine Extreme Racing. Michael Stephen benefits from Bonafide's misfortune and wins again in Sasol GTC. Here's GTC2. What a fight this has been. Well done, Keegan Masters. He's the championship leader, but he is absolutely not taking his foot off the throat of his rivals in this. He wants to wrap up this title early if he can. What a performance. The 2 minis running line astern. But it will be another victory, the 3rd of his season for Keegan Masters. A great drive. He had to fight for it, but it's a win for Volkswagen in GTC2. But it's a 1-2 result for the Audis. A tremendous performance with Michael Stephen heading home. Simon Moss, who grabs another P2 this year. He's been super consistent. Hodges, Ferrari, Bonafide 5th, Van Roy and Rowe, and Wolf the top 8.
I managed to just stay behind Robbie in the beginning. I saw his back tyres were going off. Hang in there, waited, made a small mistake at turn 4, got up the inside, and from there, just managed to pull a bit of a gap. Obviously the reverse grid race, we want to try to get through without any incidents like we had in PE. We would obviously like to try to win the race. We won from the back here last time, so it can be done. But we don't want to take too many risks, but looking forward to it.
For Zwartkops and me, we don't gel. We're not friends at all. I'll be straightforward with that. It's the best result I've had here so far in the last 3 years. So I'm happy to get that out. And this year so far, I've been on the podium at every single circuit. So looking forward to keeping that going into the next few rounds.
Matthew, you had a great start. You managed to pick off 1 or 2 there, but tell us about the move on Robbie.
Yeah, that was a do-or-die move, I suppose. I could see the engine temps were getting quite high, so I knew I had to get past literally then. Otherwise, you know, I would have struggled for the next 5 or 6 laps. So I stuck it up the inside, managed to hug the apex, and yeah, we had a nice little battle up the back there, and I managed to come out ahead.
So the GTC 2 results, dramas for Brad Liebenberg. He was penalised post-race. That elevates Shorter to second and Bland to third on the podium for the 7th time.
Yeah, no, me and Brad were dicing big time. And in the middle of the race, I got in front and I managed to pull a gap. Luckily, and then he caught me again, and we had another tussle, and luckily I just got the right line and got him at the end.
Terrific race for Keegan Masters, not so for Robert Walk. What started on pole position unfortunately didn't go to plan. He's ended up with a damaged car. Sasha is in pit lane to find out just what went wrong.
Robbie Walk starting from pole position. Didn't end up the way you wanted it to, though.
No, definitely not. We had the start we wanted. A good 5 or 6 laps out in front. Made a bit of a mistake through turn 4, ran wide. Michael got up the inside of me, and then struggled with my brakes, honestly, after that. Brake pedal got very long, and I just couldn't stop it at the hairpin. Unfortunately, Johan tapped me from behind coming out of turn 2. Obviously sent me backwards, and unfortunately Masters was the unwilling culprit that had nowhere to go. Thankfully he carried on. I think he won the race, so yeah, it didn't end all too bad, I suppose.
There has been some highlights though in 2017. Being Sasol Race Day, it's only fitting we sat down with Robbie about his season so far in Sasol GTC. 2017 was a baptism of fire for the new kid on the block in Sasol GTC, with Robert Walk being thrown in the deep end from the start.
Just the lack of seat time, I think, was frustrating to start with. To tell you the truth, I mean, we were sitting in February without a drive for the season, so having done nothing last year, I suppose I didn't really expect much to pan out. So yeah, got the call from Vic and thankfully managed to put the deal together. So probably 6-7 years since I drove a saloon car around any race circuits.
Despite mechanical gremlins in the opening few rounds and the big adjustment from single-seaters to tin tops, the 9-time Opel Miller champion was in good company with new teammate and front-runner Gennaro Bonafide by his side.
Yeah, I think the cornering speed is quite different. Obviously the amount of power it has relative to obviously the solid diff and the turbo, something new for me as well. So yeah, there's been a couple different aspects of the actual car itself. But I think from the beginning it wasn't miles off. It's just been a lot of refining, so thankfully with the team and Gennaro's help I've managed to find it.
With a race win at our last round in Port Elizabeth, it's the confidence boost that Robbie was looking for to finish the year on a high.
Crossing the checkered flag was, yeah, it was fantastic. So the instruction was put down your head and go as fast as you can. That's exactly what we did. So I managed to get through the first corner in front and just managed to bang some fast laps. Got the fastest lap of the race, and that thankfully was enough. It's obviously been a big morale booster for myself and getting the win in Port Elizabeth. So yeah, it's built on the confidence I felt we should have had prior to this. So it's definitely been the step forward I needed.
Welcome back to round 6 of the Sasol GTC Championship right here at Zwartkops Raceway on the official Sasol Race Day. With me, Christopher Kabosha, who is the Senior Manager of Marketing and Public Affairs from Sasol. Christopher, a year ago we were here. This was a little bit of a dream. Look where it is now.
Sasha, we're so pleased. A year ago we didn't know which way it would roll, but here we are. Great success. It's been phenomenal across the country, and we are so pleased with the outcome.
Christopher, we're 12 months on, a great partnership between Sasol and GTC. What does it really mean?
Absolutely wonderful. It offers us the platform to demonstrate our superior products that we put in the marketplace. We have a very strong research and development team out of Cape Town, the best and certainly in the Southern Hemisphere. So it's great for us. It gives us an opportunity to give confidence to our customers who buy our products in the retail forecourts that this place, GTC platform, is testing their products all the time and they're getting superior quality.
The great thing is you also have your own Sasol GTC team who are leading the championship, 2 terrific young drivers.
2 terrific young drivers, absolutely right. Both Robert and Gennaro have been phenomenal. They've been excellent. They're great brand ambassadors. We're happy to be associated with them, and long may the successes continue.
And long may Sasol be a partner with GTC.
You bet.
Well, let's get back to the action. Let's cross over. Here's Richard.
Thanks, Sasha, and we love everything Sasol does for this great championship. One of their drivers starts this race from pole position as he did in race 1. It's Robert Walk, thanks to the reverse grid inversion going from pole position. Some movers and shakers will need to come through the field, the least of which will be those 2 black Audis. who dominated to a 1-2 finish. Now here's Gennaro Bonafide, and it seems like he's still got issues now. They had gear selection dramas on this car at the end of race 1 after that contact early in the motor race. It seems like they might be continuing on into race 2. The GTC 2 grid on your screen, that's been an incredible battle. Keegan Masters with a job to do from the very back of a very competitive field. So, Daniel Rowe and Robert Walk on the front row. Michael Van Rooyen next. The Rustenburg Rocket, and then Gennaro Bonafide. Under enormous pressure from a championship point of view. We're away in racing, and Bonafide pulls to the inside, but it's not to make a move. He's been swamped. So that car not taking off as quickly as the former championship leader would have liked, and Stevenson wouldn't have liked to go into the fence, but he has. Exit turn 1, big impact on the inside of the racetrack. Whoa, contact 2, side by side there with Simon Moss and the Volkswagen through the sweeper. A little bit of a bump and run there. Aggressive stuff on the opening lap. As it was in race 1, it's Walk in front. Van Rooyen putting the pressure on Rowe. We're on board with the Rustenburg Rocket. He's coming off his most consistent round last time out in Port Elizabeth. Looking to build on that here. The second play at Zwartkops for the season. Great to see so many people watching on this weekend. Unfortunately, Stevenson won't be watching too much more of this race from behind the wheel of his Volkswagen. Looks like a lot of damage to the front of that car. So down the hill into the braking zone for the final corner. First of 17 laps complete. And Michael Stevens still at the back of this freight train. Here's Charl Smalberger. He's up behind the number 12 Mini, and this is particularly busy here. Trevor Bland involved in that. It's a particularly feisty little battle pack, this. That's good racing, as it always has been in GTC 2. Here's Johan Farid. Volkswagen out in front, and then all of the rest of the field grouped together in GTC 2. Check this battle out. Dane Angel in the Honda. Great to see the Autohouse Angel car back on the racetrack this weekend. Bland going up the inside of Shorter, and both going past Angel. Little bit of 3 wide before the sweeper, and they get it done. Great racecraft from all involved there. Now Moss going up the inside of Van Rooyen. This for position. Van Rooyen elbowed out a little bit wide there. There's contact in front. The seas are parting for Michael Stevens. He's driving through all these guys in another reverse grid race. That was a big impact for Hodges, but a catch that would make AB de Villiers proud. And unfortunately, that's Moss off the road. He copped quite a big hit there. Big impact off to the side of the racetrack, and it looks like he's stranded. So Simon Moss, who's had a remarkable run this season, yet to record a DNF across the races held so far. And it looks like this might be the first of what's been a remarkably consistent season. So now it's Walk, Rowe, and Stephen 1, 2, and 3. And Michael Stevens just has made these reverse grid races his own this year. But this time it's like they've just given him a free kick forward, and he's passed a whole lot of cars without actually having to do a whole lot of work. They pinballed off each other there, and Stephen cruised through. Unfortunately, one was his teammate, and that's a pretty forlorn sight. And so too this for Matthew Hodges, who was on the podium in race 1, limping back, and that car isn't supposed to drive like that. Certainly not on the straight and narrow for Hodges. He was a race winner last year, and they're still yet to crack a win this year, the Volkswagen team. They're working hard for it, and maybe Rowe's a candidate for their first win of the season. He's running in second behind Robert Walk. I think his biggest problem might be the number 1 car in behind. Let's go back to GTC 2. Mandler Matakani in front. The Mini in second. Smalberger third. Another of the Minis next, and then back to the championship leader, who only built his margin with that victory in race 1. Smalberger's been an interesting story. He was 5th in the points coming into this weekend, 217 points, but he was only 48 out of 2nd place in the championship, so very much in contention. Yet to win a race in GTC 2 this year, a best of 2nd place. But it's been a fiercely competitive championship. As we mentioned in race 1, there's been 5 different winners in that class from the 10 races held leading into this weekend. So just enormously competitive. Not a massive overtaking opportunity where Simon Moscar is stranded there on driver's left. So the double waved yellows that look set to remain there won't pose too much of a hindrance for these cars. Rowe not posing too much of a hindrance for Stephen, who with a very nice move under brakes into turn 2, just slides the Audi up the inside of the Volkswagen and grabs the spot. Let's see if Rowe can fight back. I think Michael Stephen might have that spot though. Here's Brad Liebenberg just wheel hiking on that curb there at turn 1. We'll look out the back of Smalberger to a carbon copy of what's going on at the front of the field, with Masters and Shorter going at it side by side. This is a terrific little racetrack, and actually the season finale here should be terrific. These teams will have so much information and data to draw on from 4 previous races when we come back here in November. It should pose for thrilling racing. But it's a real challenge. There's a good mix of fast, long sweeping corners, a couple of really good overtaking opportunities, the big heavy braking zones that promote overtaking, like this one at turn 2. Promotes a bit of tyre wear. The Dunlop Sport Max tyre needs to work hard. So it's got that whole array of challenges that these teams and drivers like. And so far this year it has provided fantastic motor racing. It's been great motor racing wherever Sasol GTC has gone this year, but this place even more so. There's the leaders, 1, 2 and 3. One from each of our 3 main teams this year in the championship. Fast developments. Freddie Pretorius and his outfit have worked very, very hard. Actually, Johan Ferree did start this race from pit lane. We haven't seen much of the EPS Courier's car yet, but they had some gear selection issues in that car. In fact, there it is, just at the back of the shot. So he's been able to work his way forward. That carnage early in the race will have helped his cause. They're the privateer outfit, looking after Johan Ferree's car and that of Michael Van Rooyen as well. Here's Stephen. He's chasing Robert Walk, who had some brake issues in race 1. That's why he dropped through the field. Then had a lot of damage at the end of race 1, which is why he didn't get to the checkered flag. Big turnaround for the VM Innovations outfit, who looks after the 2 factory BMWs. The Sasol Racing outfit. Here's this fight in GTC 2. So Bonafide still limping around, and we've heard from pit lane that it is more of those gear selection issues that have been plaguing the 32 car. So this has not been a great weekend for Gennaro Bonafide, and he's staring down the barrel of his great rival Michael Stephen, leading the championship into our next round, which will see us return to where things kicked off at the start of this year at Killarney Raceway down in Cape Town. Brilliant little racetrack. That's going to be a terrific meeting, with so much on the line and the championship pressure really building. But Matakani still in front of this GTC2 battle. There's Smalberger under pressure from our championship leader now for 3rd place. Trevor Bland just at the back of that group. Trevor was one of the fastest drivers, it should be said, at Killarney at round 1. A couple of 2nd place results there. I wonder if he's looking forward to a return trip to that beautiful city, Cape Town, for our next round in the Sasol GTC Africa Championship. Battle for the lead is on. Michael Stephen has got to the back of the Sasol BMW driver, the open wheel ace, who's now in his 30s, a vastly experienced driver. It's just taken him a little while to come to terms with these cars, but it all clicked last time out at Aldo Scribanti. Really impressive drive in that reverse grid race there for Robert Walk. He became the first driver to convert pole to a win in the reverse grid race. It's only been done 5 times in total from the 10 races this year. This guy's been the one winning all of the reverse grid races. Michael Stephen looking to put a move on the number 41 car. Just put the nose out, trying to distract his rival. It might have worked because Walk runs wide, and down the inside, Michael Stephen gets himself back in front. And if he stays there, he will absolutely lead the championship going into the final 3 rounds and 6 races in the business end of the season. So it was a good move. He just put the nose out on the entry into the right-hand corner. Must be said to the delight of his crew watching on from pit wall. And that forced Robert Walk a little bit wide, and he was able to capitalise straight away. So Michael Stephen is now in front. Lap 10 of 17. Quite long races. Real challenge to look after the Dunlop tyres over the duration. Make sure that they have got good grip in the closing few laps. This battle in GTC2, it's not bubbling over yet. It's just been simmering away, just biding their time, waiting to get aggressive, waiting to fight for the victory. We're on board with Robert Walk. So he doesn't take his hands off the wheel. Paddle shift gearboxes in these cars. Been causing that team some dramas this weekend with the sister car of Gennaro Bonafide. And that impact there in race 1 did some damage to the gearbox of that car, and maybe a gear selector broke or some bent componentry underneath. Not a lot of turnaround time between races either. Walk a little bit wide. Gathered it up. You can see how physical these cars are to drive. Running the soft compound tyre in the races this year, and it's really changed the competition because they degrade quicker than the harder compound tyre. So the cars start to slide around a little bit more as the race goes on. So it's up to the driver to manage that and up to the team to set the car up so that it looks after its tyres. Now in the back of that shot was Michael Stephen. He's coming up to this incredible battle for the lead in GTC2. So with these longer races, the Sasol GTC cars are having to work their way through the lap traffic, and that's become quite a big part of the last couple of races in the championship. It could be make or break stuff, but Michael Stephen's proven he's got a cool head and he's able to deal with it. Just past one car at a time. He's got a good margin over the BMW behind, so he's got a little bit of breathing room. You can see the extra corner speed there for the Sasol GTC car compared to the production-based GTC2 racer that he just went by. That's the margin first to second. Walk needs some fast sector times now. While the race leader is working his way through traffic, he needs to take advantage and try and close the margin down as much as he can. But Stephen's making light work of the GTC2 cars. Just the leaders next, and then he'll be clear and we'll have clear racetrack in front of him. Really taking advantage of the braking performance that the Sasol GTC cars have got. You can see the extra aero they've got. They've got more grip from their super soft tyres. Purpose-built race cars. The GTC2 cars are the entry level to Sasol GTC Africa. Walk looking down the inside of Smalberger. You could see him or hear him hesitate, just lifted off the throttle a little bit. And now Matakani takes advantage and follows Walk through. There's a little bit of a bump there from Smalberger though. And Walk now doing the job that Stephen did last lap around, working his way through the leaders in GTC2. Looks up the inside of Mandla Matakani. Gets up the inside of Mandla Matakani. The Mini tries to follow. No, there's contact. There was drama as car 12 made contact. There was a big hit there. Oh, and Brad Liebenberg, he's crunched into the rear quarter of Robert Walk and taken him out of the race. So he was hoping to take advantage. You could see what he was trying to do. He was trying to follow the Sasol GTC car up the inside of the race leader in GTC2. Unfortunately, he went a little bit too deep and big contact, and it ended Robert Walk's race. So he was P2. He's now P nowhere, and Gennaro Bonafide is limping as well. So the man who won the first 3 straight races in this year's championship is the walking wounded this weekend. And a little bit further ignominy there as Michael Stephen passed him. And it looks like with all that going on, we're going to see a safety car interruption. So no more overtaking. While we're under yellow conditions, no more overtaking for position. And Robert Walk, well, it was a weekend that started with so much potential. He got pole by the smallest margin of the season so far, 2/100ths of a second. He's led both races, but unfortunately there will be no victories for the Sasol BMW driver this weekend. He's in pit lane, he is out of the race. So this might make things a little bit more interesting, as if they weren't enough already, because it will close, that man, Johan Ferree, will close right to the back of Michael Stephen. So having started this race from pit lane, Johan Ferree's just played the quiet card in this one. He's taken advantage of everyone else's dramas. He's got himself to P2, and now the safety car has got him to the back of our race leader. So this makes things really interesting. Bonafide just doing a little bit of handy maintenance on his own here. Well, it's actually worked too. And he's got that car fired up. So it didn't sound like there was any drive when he was pulling to a halt. So I wonder if those gear selection issues have become terminal for that car. Well, he will be so frustrated sitting watching as the many thousands of fans here this weekend are, as Michael Stephen builds what is now going to be a championship lead going into the final 3 rounds of the year. We're back to racing. This has been a brutal race. The safety car pulls off. Rowe is still in 3rd place in GTC. There's Johan Ferree. He clears the GTC 2 car. Can he do anything about Michael Stephen? Audi first, BMW next, Volkswagen third, as it was in our race earlier today for a good chunk of it anyway. It ended up with a 1-2 result for the Terry Moss Racing team. Mixed feelings for that team in this race, with the sister car parked still damaged on the side of the road, and a first DNF of the year for Simon Moss looming. We should mention a milestone birthday for Terry Moss coming up after this race weekend, the big 6-0. We wish him all the best. There'll be some celebrations for that team in the week coming, I'm sure. So just 2 laps to go. Position still to be decided in the GTC 2 race. Charl Smalberger looking the goods at the moment. And there's Chris Shorter. So Smalberger yet to win this year, and trying to make it count in this one. But Michael Stephen is out in front. He's looking for his 7th race win of the season. But more importantly perhaps than that, he's looking for a championship lead. 12 times a South African national champion, looking to make it what would be a lucky 13 after a horrendous start to the year. Johan Ferree drove brilliantly and pushed him all the way, but car number 1 is P number 1 in the race, and also the championship. Michael Stephen back-to-back wins at Zwartkops. So there's Keegan Masters crossing the line first in GTC 2. So Stephen, Ferree and Rowe 1, 2 and 3. Van Rooyen with dramas and a lot of DNFs in that. And confirmation, Charl Smalberger, his first win in GTC 2, with Keegan Masters penalised for a technical infringement. Well done, Charl, his first victory. But the big story of the weekend is Michael Stephen, the brand new Sasol GTC Championship leader.
Yeah, it was a fantastic race. You know, at the start was a little bit tricky because Gennaro had an issue and Johan came past, and I rather played it cautious into one and picked them off one by one, you know, through the race. There was a bit of carnage in turn 4. Stayed out of trouble, and then, you know, just managed to chase down Daniel, and Robbie was in front again. Put him under a bit of pressure. He ran a bit wide at the tabletop and got through, and from there pretty much plain sailing. I caught the GTC 2 cars, and there was like 6 or 7 cars in a train. I'm like, yes, how am I going to get through here without any hassles? But I mean, credit to them, you know, everyone got out the way and did a fantastic job. So, you know, really great result for the team.
As we were about to leave the pits to go to park for me, the car didn't select gears. So they take the cover off and see if the compressor fiddled around there. I don't know what they were doing, but eventually we got gears. We got to the gate and it was too late, so we couldn't take our position on the grid. So I had to go out when the warm-up lap. So we were back on the grid, but yeah, there was a lot of carnage. And then my water tank burst, so I was slipping on my own water the first half of the race till the tank got empty, because I couldn't take 3 flat or 4, I couldn't touch the throttle. So we got out and we got a lucky second. But I think just want to be on pace and make sure the car lasts. So because we're always battling with something small. So we're getting there, but it just takes a little bit longer. So hopefully we can put in a good show for Cape Town, and yeah, hopefully we can get our first win in our hometown. So I'm looking forward to that.
No, absolute chaos. I started from 5th and I managed to make my way up, and then there was carnage around the middle point, and then Manla and the other Mini of Brad took each other out. Then me and Keegan and Chris found ourselves in the top 3, so we kind of sort of swapped around. And then I had a lucky move on the second last lap to get into the second position. But we're very happy, and great thanks to my team and everyone involved in our race.
Congratulations to Michael Stephen in GTC here at Zwartkops. Double wins, double points, the championship's alive. Next we head to Cape Town and the home of Johan Fourie, Killarney International Raceway. Then we have a bit of a break in the calendar before the final 2 events at Kyalami and Zwartkops, where we wrap up the championship. Exciting times ahead, and we trust that you will join us the next time we go racing with the Sasol GTC Championship. Ciao, ciao.